I wanted to play a portion of the breakdown of the film by my guy, Steve Suter. If you're not familiar with Steve, he's been doing it for me all year long on the podcast, and we're taking, each week parts of it and running it here on the radio station. Steve is one of the greatest punt returners in NCAA history and in ACC history, calls the Maryland games with Johnny Holiday, does a great job, and he is phenomenal breaking down the film. It's funny because he's not, he used to be a big Skins fan, not as much anymore. So a lot of the, stuff that happens during the week, I think you'll hear the exchange when I tell him that Dorrance Armstrong's lost for the season, how shocked he was and how upset he was. But this is the first 10 minutes of the conversation with Steve, where he just tells you kind of overall his big takeaways after watching the all 22 of the game on Sunday in Dallas.
Well, I would say my first thought is, and not a shocker here, but they're just beat up. Commanders are banged up on both sides of the ball, and it's wearing them down. And you just have what doing this all 22 has done for me, and breaking down these games is really realizing how a 52-man roster is just not a lot of players.
53, yeah.
53. You get in the second and third string, and it's just you just see talent drop off, and there's not enough depth that you can keep at every position and anticipate where the injuries are going to go. So it's not like college, you got 115 guys on the roster that you can comb through. Now there's depth issues there too. But this is just kind of a glaring, eye-opening experience for me, just to see when you got guys that go down, who's coming in, who's filling in. And Washington's going through what appears like 10 defensive linemen here in the games that I've gone through. So that's just a lot of guys you got to go through.
You know what? I didn't tell you this before we started. Armstrong tore his ACL. He's done for the year.
Stop it. Oh, my gosh. Oh, dude. You guys are toast.
You guys.
I'm sorry to laugh about it.
Yeah.
But
because he's been your favorite player. He and Kinlaw have been your
best player.
Yeah.
He has been the best player on defense all season. And now, man, I didn't know that. I saw him get hurt. I saw him tweak the knee, but I did not know it was an ACL. That is very unfortunate. So, goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take that information into account. Yeah, that's a big blow. So, offensively, all right, I'll just go back. Offensively, banged up too. Right out on the perimeter, no shocker there. You got nobody to get beat man coverage. If you heard the broadcast and as you were listening to it, they have commented how Dallas runs zone, and then now they're just going to put a bunch of man. Well, I said, well, that's not obvious, or that's obvious to me. You and I talked about it. He asked me how to defend Washington on offense. I said I'd play man coverage on them on the outside so they could show they had somebody that could beat it. And they don't, especially with Debo going out. So they came out, Dallas did, man coverage, like you heard on the broadcast, locking down the outside. Now, there were some opportunities, though, for people that did get open. Lane shockingly got open a couple of times in man coverage. Jaden missed him, didn't see the read, or threw a bad ball. So there were some opportunities, but then Dallas throughout the game went back to their zone coverage because they had the lead. They didn't have to worry about giving up a big chunk play on a man coverage where somebody gets beat or fall down. So that just seemed like a coaching strategy to me. Once they took the lead, they went back to what they were comfortable doing, playing zone the rest of the game, and Washington couldn't do anything with it because they couldn't establish a run like they had been doing earlier in the season. So they had to rely on passing. And Jaden, we'll get into specifics, but Jaden probably had his worst game that I've watched, and it goes from not executing on just throws. He was inaccurate most of the game, and then I think he's getting gun shy in the pocket because of who's outside with him, and I don't think he trusts that they're going to get open, so he might look one time at one read, and then he's, all right, now I'm taking off. So hopefully this break that he gets to get healthy will also time up with Terry and Debo and Noah coming back, and he'll have all his tools, and that he doesn't have to he can reprogram his mind that I got guys that get open, these plays are going to work. I can stay in the pocket a little longer. But currently that's not the case. And offensively for the run game, I don't know why they couldn't get it going either. I will say this, Sam Cosme is an upgrade from Wiley from this first game. He played pretty well, so that's encouraging moving forward. I think your line looks really good. Now, what are we? Week? I don't even know what week you're in the season here, but
entering week 8.
Yeah, you're entering week 8, and you finally got a what looks like a fresh line. Now, I do want to ask you too, because I'm not paying attention like we talked about, but I did see Wiley come in the fourth quarter. I don't know if Cosme got hurt or they just knew the game was out of reach.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, there was no information on Cosme being hurt. None.
All right, good. All right, so that's good news. Then defensively, more of the same struggles. Can't cover in man coverage. These are two of the best receivers against man coverage in the game. So Lattimore is going to struggle for sure. Sandersfield is going to struggle for sure. They can't cover CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. They just can't do it. But there was a lot of man coverage that was called from Washington. They tried to run their inverted cover 2 one time, and that's the time Debo beat them deep, streaked right down the middle of the field.
CeeDee Lamb, yeah, exactly. That was inverted cover 2, right?
Yep, that was the inverted cover 2. So that's why Lattimore was all the way deep. He was the second safety in that inverted cover 2. But they've been putting this on tape, Washington has all year, and I would go back and look at the plays, but the success rate for them running this inverted cover 2 is very low. Teams have been completing passes on it all year, and Cowboys had 5 weeks of film to see it. I don't know if that wasn't an ad-lib with CeeDee Lamb, because he sees Sandersfield bail right in front of him. He knows it's an inverted cover 2, and he might have just took off for that reason. They said, when we get this coverage, we're going deep right here. We're going to put these safeties in the bind, and it worked. So after that, they never ran it again.
I got to tell you this right now, because yesterday I said on the show, because I looked at that play over and over again, and I said, this is their inverted cover 2. And then, you see Wagner dropping into that, cover 2, hole area. First of all, it seemed to me like Savage was the one that was a little bit confused, but I'll come back to that in a moment. But I actually said, I don't know that CeeDee Lamb was even supposed to run that route. Somebody sent me a tweet of Brian Schottenheimer after the game, apparently told the Dallas media, yeah, that was not the play. CD improvised. So you nailed it.
See, I don't know any of that, but I could just see it on film that would be a clear example of why they would do that ad lib. If I saw this on tape, this would be something that Dak and I probably would have talked about too on film. Hey man, we get this inverted cover 2 and it's the right formation, I'm gone, because I'm beaten. So Savage isn't confused. I see what you're saying. I just pulled the play up. He's not responsible for the deep. It's cover 2. You're just going to have 2 safeties. So it's Lattimore and it's Quan Martin. Okay. They're the safeties.
Yep.
So it's inverted, but it's still just basic cover 2.
Right.
So Savage is coming down, working the hole. Wagner's getting a little deep, kind of like to Mike, or excuse me, the Tampa 2, but it's like it's an abbreviation of it. But 100%, when he throws his hands up here, I think he reads this 2 safety split. He knows I'm good. Like, I'm gone. Let's do this. Dak sees it, chucks it up, little underthrown ball, and then Lattimore's play on the ball is terrible.
He and Quan Martin did the thing they do every one of my callers called in and said they're 7 for 7 on colliding this year.
That's true.
It's amazing.
This is man coverage. They're not getting picked. This is a zone coverage.
Yeah.
They'll bump into each other. So
the other part of that too, right, is no pass rush.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to get it now, and you're not going to get it. So your best pass rusher now, to me, is Jacob Martin. Now that you're not going to have Armstrong, this game especially, he was a lot of effort from Martin. If I'm transitioning to that, he was really good for me on film, and it was mainly effort. And it's clear that he knew somebody needs to step up on the D-line. Armstrong's out now. We got injuries. Somebody's got to provide pass rush other than Armstrong. So shout out to Jacob Martin. I thought he played really well despite all the points getting put up on the board. But he was a standout for me on defense, more so than he had been in the other weeks. So good there. But to get back to it, so they stopped running this inverted cover 2 after they got burnt here, and then it was basically man coverage the rest of the way. And they just don't have the guys that can hang with Dallas on the perimeter. And I think they're running man coverage just because they're trying to find a pass rush and they're going to bring extra guys. So even that was disappointing too. When they would bring pressure, so they would get single blocks, right? So you bring an extra guy, then you hope your Paynes and Kinlaws don't get double teamed and everybody's got a one-on-one matchup. Well, they weren't winning any of those one-on-one matchups for the most part. So bringing pressure didn't really increase the timing of Dak Prescott at all. So the guys get to still run their routes with their typical timing, and it's hard to cover these types of receivers for that long a duration. So kind of the perfect storm there. You just don't have the bodies on defense, and I know I'm a broken record here. If I get man coverage, I'm looking for Lattimore and Sanders still, and every team is doing it. Nobody, there's no reason not to. If they bring motion, if you're watching the game and the broadcast next week or the following week, just pay attention to motion from the offense standpoint, and if one of Washington's guys are following them, because if they are, then the QB knows it's man coverage, and then chances are that ball is going to Sanders or Lattimore. I mean, you'd be shocked at the percentage of that. I see it every time. Once I'm watching the All 2020 and I see a play go and I see man coverage and I see the motion, I'm like, oh, they know it's man coverage. Here comes the ball, Lattimore. Here comes the ball, Sanders still. And they just can't step up to the challenge. Oof. So I don't see how you're going to fix it, honestly. Lattimore doesn't look like he has any type of burst or break towards the football. He's not confident. He's not even – if I was Lattimore at this point, I'd be gambling. I'd be jumping routes. I'd be trying to guess because my standard technique isn't working. I don't cover anybody. They're always open. So why not take a shot? I'm going to guess you're running it out here. I'm going to guess you're running a post here to try to help myself out because all I am is just getting picked on. And if I am in phase, my hands are just glued to the receiver. He can't keep his hands off anybody. So he's going to get called for PI even if he gets a chance to break up the pass. So you got problems in the secondary for sure. We've talked about it all year. It's not getting better. Maybe what was Will Harris's injury? Is he coming back?
No, he's done for the year.
He's done too, man. This is a season of injuries for Washington for sure, and I don't think he got the bodies to overcome it.
That was Steve Suter talking a lot about the defense. He talked a lot about Jaden's game, graded him, if you want to listen to that on my podcast. He also mentioned something. I gave Sanders still after the game. I said, at least he had a pass breakup in the game. If you recall, there was a play where Dak is kind of flush from the pocket, throws to CeeDee Lamb, and Sanders still gets a pass breakup and, raises his arms up in the air. Finally, I've got a pass breakup. And Steve said it made him laugh because he was beaten so badly off the line of scrimmage by Lamb, and Prescott, for some inexplicable reason, didn't look at him. It would have been a touchdown. It would have been a house call had he thrown it to him. There was so much separation with Lamb in motion and then lining up in the slot against Sanders still. But the play kept extending, and then Prescott ended up rolling out and throwing to Lamb late, and the ball got broken up. It's interesting when you do watch the all 22 from that perspective on a play in which I bet you he got graded highly by some of the advanced stat, groups. Suter's like, no, he got absolutely wasted at the line of scrimmage on CeeDee Lamb's inside move. Prescott on 3rd and 3 was looking elsewhere to try to get just a quick chain mover and instead missed what would have been an easy house call. Interesting stuff. He's been excellent in breaking down the film.